Hi there, hello, it's Christian and Michael here again in the Jinglinga studio in London.
You're jingling.
Jinglinga. It's almost as bad as my handwriting, isn't it? If you saw the first videos, you'll see how bad my handwriting is, which is why we've got it nicely typed up here in the studio. So, yeah, good to be back again.
Indeed.
Nice to see you.
And you.
We've done a couple of videos on this now, so this is the
Third in the
series. And this is about challenges of AV and video support and remote management. So in the first video, we talked obviously about all of the things that are in this list, but the second video, we then talked about budgeting and how we looked at budgeting and how important that is, and we looked at your existing estate and understanding your existing estate and how important that was.
Yeah.
So today we're going to go on to the next couple of topics within our list.
Yeah.
The first one is
not on the network.
yes, not on the network, and I think we talked about this in length in the first video, which is not part of this series, which is about conversion network.
Last
we
year,
did have
yeah,
a discussion
yeah.
last year about that. But I know this is a passionate one for you because of what you do on a day-to-day basis. But
well, it's difficult to help organisations if the device isn't on the network. You know, we're about providing a view into the world of how a device is performing, how the users are using a device or a series of devices to make a system. If we can't see it, then it's very difficult. It's impossible.
Agreed.
Let's be frank. So it's about working with customer organisations to get them to see the benefit of putting these things on the network. And it's a really common thing. There's loads of customers out there, loads of organisations that don't put things on the network. I mean, obviously things like MTR systems, you know, your video conferencing, that has to go on the network, right?
Yeah.
But we're talking about things like displays.
Yeah.
I didn't put any of the displays on the network because it would have been expensive to put additional network ports in the rooms, and actually we didn't really see the value of it because it's not a secure device, so we don't really want it on the network.
Yeah.
And why would we?
Yeah.
You know, but whereas now with what we provide in terms of that remote management and support and the you know, really the data that we can take off these devices, because data brings actionable intelligence. It's important to capture data from all the devices. So there is a reason to put all the things on the network now. And our challenge is to work with customers to show them, yes, there is a cost of putting things on the network, but there's a cost of not putting things on the network as well. And, you know, when they start to get, you know, almost addicted to the data that comes back from what they've invested in from a technology perspective, they see the value and the power of understanding what they've bought, how it's performing, how that's going to impact decision-making process in the future on how these things should be deployed, how many do we need to buy, have we bought the right thing, do we need to buy something else? It's a lot harder to make those decisions if you don't have factual data to support it.
I agree, and I think I think a lot of people get concerned that actually you've got to turn it all on all at the same time. It's all got to transition.
Yeah.
But I think that if you've got an existing estate and certain items are not on the network, obviously you know which ones they are because you've been and you've done your little assessment, or you've got all that data. That what's on the network, what isn't on the network. You understand that, and as long as you understand what's not there, then you can start to add those things that are on the network to your reporting processes.
Yeah.
But what I think moving forwards, if you're in that position where you want to transition into a properly, fully, remotely manageable solution like your IT systems are, is a testing process, a part of a physical. You've defined a solution. You understand that there are different devices that can do the same thing. Putting them together, building them onto the network, layering the software, the reporting software, or whatever that you've got in there, and actually testing that in a sandboxed environment to actually determine, does it give me what I want? Am I happy with what I want?
Sure.
Is there a roadmap for me to add more things to that?
Yeah.
What can I do in my existing rooms, and testing those, taking a couple of those testing.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing, that it can be done retrospectively in some spaces, as long as you understand what is reported on and what can't be reported on, and then you can develop your designs for the future with that new data, but test it in that space. I think that's important.
And I think the testing is important because if we take the Microsoft Teams world as an example, you know, MTR devices are available from a plethora of different leading manufacturers. You know, from a user perspective, They all look and feel the same for the size of rooms that they're designed for. It's a bar with a nice touch panel. The GUI's the same because it's rubber stamped by Microsoft. That's what the experience looks like.
Similar. They're not all the same.
Similar. Fair play. Similar. But in our world, different manufacturers have different quality APIs. So in terms of the data that we can get back, it may present as an MTR room, but some of them we can get, more data around the environmentals in the room from the sensors that are built into the MTR system, or just basic things that I call it basic now, but people counting from the camera. I want to know if this is a 4-person room. I want to know every time there's more than 4 people sat in there. Because when you start to build a list of that, what you've got is data that isn't to do with how is the technology performing, it's how is it being used. So, we see this with organisations where they bought a lot of smaller rooms, and the cynic in me thinks there was budget involved in that decision. A 4-person room is a lot cheaper than an 8-person room. Let's buy loads more than those. But if you're using the data to show that most of the time, the rooms are oversubscribed, then you can go back to the business and say, we're not providing our users with the right technology. We need to spend a bit more money. But here's the reason why. So I think that's really important. The other important part of testing, sticking to the word testing, is if everything's on the network, we can actually test it every day. And customers that we've got or prospects that we're talking to that have big estates that haven't rolled us out yet, haven't rolled out Utelligy, they might have 3 or 4 AV engineers or AV support people within their team to look after a whole campus because it's expensive. But the most that you can do in terms of testing is when you speak to them, I say, how do you test your rooms to make sure that the user has a good experience every morning? Well, what we do is we do that building on that week because there's a lot of rooms in there,
and then we send somebody to the rooms.
We're always sending people to rooms, aren't we? And then we've got to do another building another week. And the question is, well, why wouldn't you want to test all of your rooms? Every single day before the start of the working day. And we're testing everything, we're turning it on, we're checking it's on the network, we're asking it to play some noise, we're asking the microphone, did you hear the noise? So we're testing all of the individual components within these rooms now to make sure that the user that comes in and uses it next has a good experience.
And if you don't do that testing to get that out, and and we've talked in the past about peripheral devices and network devices, and obviously you can get some detail from a USB device, but it's not going to be the same as if it's on a network. And obviously, if you understand what those challenges are when you're doing your design, and everybody goes, okay, we'll sign that off. It's gone to the steer code. We want to budget for a peripheral device. We're not going to go fully network. That's a choice to make. But if you're not doing those things, you're not necessarily making those defined choices.
There are big ramifications, aren't there? We talked about it, I think, in the previous video. If it's not on the network and I can't ask it to switch off at night, I can't help you with that, saving you 50% of your power costs. So actually, when you look at that number,
and the cost of energy in the UK, and I know it's similar in different places around the world, it's expensive. So we want to make sure that that's manageable as well. So all of those things come into the importance of it being on the network, being tested so that you know that it functions on the network, and it provides the performance, but also the data and information that you get back from it. And I think that's going to bring us really neatly onto the next topic that we thought was really important. And that's ownership.
Or lack of.
And that's the thing. We talked about it. I think you said it was a hot potato, and I think it's always been that way. Who owns AV and video within an organisation? And there's so many different moving parts of that. People own the meeting rooms and the service in the meeting rooms. People own the tech in the meeting rooms. Some people will own the video platform and the devices and that. Facilities will own different parts of it. IT will own some of the pieces within that. So, and who's the testing done by? Often it's pushed outside of the organisation. It's not inside. It's not like IT, which I think we agreed in the video we talked about network. It's the ownership of IT runs through the business. It's there. It's the responsibility of the organisation to make sure that works. The security, all of those things. But because there isn't the knowledge, maybe
if it sits on a network,
Yeah.
Maybe that's another reason it's not on the network.
I think that's a very core reason why it's not on the network in some places.
Would you like to look after this basket of pain that's just going to cause endless support tickets into your part of the organisation? Oh, gee, yeah. Can't wait.
But if you're implementing some of the things that we've talked about, like getting it on the network, being able to remotely monitor it, actually having those failures reported every morning into your IT support meetings or your real estate support meetings, here are all the tickets these are the things that failed within the rooms. That makes it a bit easier. But also, once you've got that understanding of what's going wrong, and you've got ownership of that, you can start to put it right. So if a particular device is failing every day in every room, you can highlight what your problem is. But it's that ownership and pulling those teams together. And I think it's different for every organisation that I've worked with of how it fits into their internal teams. But I think there is definitely a piece for organisations that don't have AV and video as a defined department or joining of different departments. There is definitely a piece for them to go through to understand. I've certainly done it with a number of organisations where I've done workshops to actually highlight who the ownership of different parts of a system are and why it's not joined up. So support is provided over here, software is provided over here, hardware is looked after over here, and actually they all, I think as we're seeing through all of this, they all have a link. They're all inextricably linked together. So definitely understanding that and setting up your organisation to have a responsibility for AV.
I think if we can present the AV and UC devices in a way that gives all of that telemetry and therefore it breeds confidence in the same way that IT people expect from the rest of their IT devices that they support, then it becomes easier for them to onboard it and open it with onboard it with welcome opening arms, doesn't it, at the end of the day? And I think we definitely see that in the bigger, more mature customers that they've got, where IT is the overriding, we've got control of that. Yes, we've got an audio-visual team, but they sit within us because guess what? It sits on the network, so we have to have overall control of that. But, we're using things like Utility, and it's great now. We have full visibility, so it's no longer a headache. And we've massively reduced our amount of tickets coming in because we've deployed the right software. So, everyone's life is a bit easier, and there's some serendipity there because the actual user, they're not seeing the problem, so they get a better experience, so everyone's happy. And we're saving money at the same time.
I've seen that, and I think that certainly I've been, in the last couple of years, I've actually been embedded into organisations to provide some of that knowledge that may be missing as an initiation of starting these processes and doing that. So that's something that I think needs to be provided, because if you've got ownership and you don't have that knowledge, people have generally got IT knowledge in-house. If they don't have it in-house, then you can come and buy it. Certainly from me, and I know there's others out there that will do that as well. So I think that covers quite a lot of that, and hopefully for you guys and gals out there that it will be something that will resonate with you, and getting that ownership within your organisation of the AV, showing how important it is. Will really help you drive the quality of the solutions. So look, I think that covers the things that we've got today. That we're going to wrap that up there. But again, if you've got any comments on these videos or any thoughts about the things that we're discussing here, let us know. We'll come back and address them. We'll do another little chat about
the other thing is we could probably talk all day about that. So if there is anyone out there who would like to do a deeper dive, then
do give us a
book
shout.
a consultation session with us, and we'll sit and walk through what we're doing with other organisations.
Cool. So again, from Mike and myself, thanks for watching, and tune in for the next video on the next two topics. Take care. Have a great week.
Thanks all. Bye bye.